So I spoke briefly in Pashto and I spoke briefly in Dari. I know that there's a lot of questions probably coming in, so I want to save some time. We're here till 12:30, so we have an hour. I'm going to spend the next 30 minutes speaking about this process in English so that others can understand if they don't speak Pashto or Dari. This information is not only for newly arrived Afghans, it's for every single immigrant that's out there and what they can do to protect themselves and what to expect under the Trump administration. So one of the questions I get now that, January 20th, the Trump administration has come in is, what can immigrants do to protect themselves inside the United States, whether Afghan or other immigrants? Well, we're lucky that we live in a state of California where the governor has provided guidance and Attorney General Bonta has provided protection for immigrants, whether Afghans or immigrants from other communities. So first and foremost, I'm sorry, can I ask them to be quiet? I'm so sorry. We have guests here live, so I wanted to make sure I was giving all the information. So one of the things is that if you're living in California and hopefully other states, they provide protection for immigrants. First and foremost, immigration custom enforcement, there's no cooperation from state and local officials in California to cooperate with law enforcement and do mass deportation that the administration coming in is seeking to do. So that's one thing to kind of like calm the community in that regards. And I know that I'm live streamed all across the U.S., so again, I want to reiterate, I'm speaking for California. Maybe other states are going to be providing similar protections for everyone. Second of all, for those Afghans who were paroled in August of 2021 and onwards, and also for those who came in through the Mexican border. It's very, very important, first and foremost, that any type of status that you have, whether you have humanitarian parole, whether you have TPS or re-parole, or you have been waiting to file for asylum, make sure that whatever status you have, you file the required documents to maintain your status. You do not want to fall out of status. One, it won't provide you protection for legal status, and two, it's important to have that record. If you have a 2-year work permit, consider renewing it to possibly get a 5-year work permit. That might be possible, but that might go away under the new administration. If your case is processing for a long time and you're working with an attorney or an organization that's helping you, maybe reach out to congressional help to see if there's any way to expedite your application. If you have SIV status or you're thinking of applying for asylum but you haven't, please apply for one of those reliefs that you're seeking, because being out of status could potentially harm you without having any status, so it's very important to do that. The other thing is, if you have arrived recently or you have been here for many years, I would consider, if you are a U.S. citizen but you don't have a U.S. passport, please apply for the U.S. passports for your family as soon as possible, just so you have the passport. The regulations may get difficult. Again, those are for individuals who are U.S. citizens, but they just haven't gotten around to filing for a U.S. passport. Please take the time. It's a very quick process online. You can just pay a little bit and then get it expedited process. The other thing that I'm really seeing in the Afghan community and other community is this talk about mass deportation and the risk of being there. Now, they have said that, and I've seen it in the past and under this administration, is the priority for those who have already been ordered deported by the immigration judge, or they have criminal record and law enforcement, ICE has access to those records, they may put potentially someone in deportation. So unless you've already been ordered deported by an immigration judge, or you have a criminal record that makes you deportable, if you're a green card holder, or if you're an asylee or SIV or TPS or humanitarian parole, whatever it may be, those individuals are potentially at risk. And so you should consult with an immigration attorney that handles criminal convictions and give you advice on that. So that's very, very important. The other thing I just caution the community, including our beloved Afghan community, is if you have asylee status, if you have green card status, if you have TPS, humanitarian parole, whatever status you have right now, make copies of the documentations in your phones or in your car so you have those documents in case it's necessary. Now, local and state law enforcement under the Constitution are not allowed to ask you for your legal status and to ask you, what is your status, where you're from. You can just say, I want to remain silent and I want my attorney here. And if you have a family member or someone in the community that can guide you, just give them a call. You do not have to disclose your legal status to anybody. If you come into contact with immigration, they're usually looking for somebody. They're not going to go randomly and ask people their immigration status. Or we hope that that's not what they're going to be doing. So for those Afghans coming in through the Mexican, U.S.-Mexican border, some things to keep in mind that right now some of you may have used the CBP One app. Likely the CBP One app it's an app that you use to get an appointment to speak to an asylum officer at the border. Most likely the CBP One app will be canceled. And like last time, Trump's administration had people wait outside in Mexico to ask for asylum. Right now, under this administration, you would get an interview at the border, and if it was credible fear, you were allowed into the U.S. and continue with the asylum. So we'll see likely changes with those. People worry about being deported back to Afghanistan. At this time, Afghanistan is not taking people who have been ordered deported, but potentially we may see that change in that under the administration if the Afghan government decides to take people back, or you may get deported to a third country. But again, that is not mass deportation. That is not for majority of the Afghans. It's mainly for those who have been deported or they have criminal record. And so for all the newcomers that are here, my advice would be is, stay out of trouble. Do not, avoid getting into contact with law enforcement, whether domestic violence, theft, drug convictions, DUIs, especially if you're an asylee and a green card holder. Those have catastrophic consequences for your long-term immigration status. So it's very important to protect that. Now, a lot of people are rightfully worried they got evacuated from Afghanistan, but their family members are still left. So every day I get questions about, I've had asylum and I haven't filed anything. So keep in mind, if you have asylum, you will have to wait about a year, but you can file earlier for your green card. But when you file for your asylum, or if you haven't, it's very, very important that you file for your asylum right away. If your asylum is approved and you put your family members in it, which is the form I-730, it's very important that you file that for your family. And then the process, unfortunately, right now, even now under the current administration, has been extensive to bring family members. We anticipate that process is going to take even longer in years. So, for example, right now, if I filed for a spouse of a U.S. citizen, it's taking about three years or more to bring that family members here. So I had the opportunity to go to the military bases, and many families were left apart, and they were saying, oh, my family's coming. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So with this administration, we're going to see long processes for the I-730. We anticipate that the care team that's done the evacuation is going to get less and less, and possibly the whole program may go away. A lot of questions I get asked is about the P1, P2 program. Even from when the Taliban came in 2021, there have been, alhamdulillah, many people that came in through the P1, P2. but that's a very small percentage of the number of people who have applied for P1, P2. And we anticipate that the longer wait process for those, and then also it may potentially go away, but I'm not certain if that program is going to go away. We're also going to see severe delays at the consular processing. So unfortunately, right now at this time, the only place Afghans can get an interview is Islamabad, and some in Rwanda, and maybe a few in Qatar and other places. But if there's no embassy designated for Afghans to go directly, Afghans are going to have a very limited time. So for those who are waiting to be reunited with their loved ones through the I-730 or through other processes, it's just going to get longer for everyone. Now, I wanted to kind of talk about, like, when you're traveling, whether you're traveling on a travel document because Afghans can't get passports renewed immediately, or you're a green card holder, or you're a U.S. citizen. We're living in an age where the Custom Border Protection officers have the authority to do whatever they want to go ahead and make it difficult for some people. So it's very important for people to keep a copy of your passport, keep a copy of your itinerary with a loved one. And also, it's very important in this day and age where we have our cell phones, we don't know anybody's number. They may take your phone away, so at that you have a right to talk to a family member, make a call. So memorize one phone number to somebody, let them know that you're traveling. And if you have an attorney, let your attorney know that, hey, at this time I'm traveling and I want to make sure that there's no issue. Inshallah, there's no issues. These are just precautions that we want to take in case we get that one rogue officer where they're giving you difficulties. Now, I'm not here to put fear in everyone. I'm just saying that let's be cautious. I'm a U.S. citizen and I travel, and I will wholeheartedly say I am an immigration attorney. I have colleagues who I tell them, hey, I'm traveling. In case something happens, can I get a hold of you? So if I'm an attorney and I'm a U.S. citizen and I'm taking that precaution, I would want other people. And 99% of the time, nothing happens to me. The 1% I might get pulled over or ask questions. So just being cautious, but not being fearful. So it's a balance of what I'm trying to do is to educate the community without putting that fear in the community. So that's really important. If you're a U.S. citizen, you have a right to enter the country, even if you're a green card holder and others, but particularly if you're a U.S. citizen, you have a right to enter. You have a right to not answer any questions. If they want to open your phone, you have a right not to open. Now, they may keep you in an inspection, and you can say, I have a right to talk to an attorney. Now, you may not have an attorney, and that's fine, but you should have a phone number for a family member that can reach out to and then give that information. So it's really important. And do not, under any circumstances, fill out any papers, whether you're a green card holder, whether you're an asylee traveling to another country, coming back in. Now, I want to touch on an issue, and I'm going to do it in Pashto and Dari too, because I forgot to do this. Is very important. I'll do it in English first. If you got your green card based on asylum, and you're from Afghanistan or you're from whatever country, under the laws, the reason you got asylum is because you had fear of returning to your home country. So if you're a green card holder, please do not travel back to your home country. I'm seeing that a lot with the Afghan community saying, I got my green card, I can go. The distinction in the very important issue I want to raise is, if you got your green card through SIV, the Special Immigrant Visa, yes, you can travel to Afghanistan under the laws of the U.S., but you might be risking your safety because you're a translator. So that's a personal decision I leave up to people. But as an asylee green card holder, you should not, especially under this administration. So what I was saying was, it's very important, again, for those immigrants, whether they're newly arrived or they've been here for many years, do not consult with people who are not immigration attorneys. These individuals are popping up all over the Bay Area, not only for the Afghan community, but they're popping up for the Hispanic community, for other communities. Right now, they're taking advantage of your vulnerability. They know how desperate you are and you need help. I understand the challenge for our newcomers is financial, not understanding the system, trusting people. But if you're going to work with these people, make sure you ask them they are licensed. If they are not licensed, they may be able to fill out a form for you, but I assure you that when it comes to the legal questions and the legal issues that come up, they're going to walk away, they're going to leave you, and they're going to tell you, all I did is I filled out the paperwork. I did not give you legal advice. I have been practicing for 17 years, and I've never seen so much distress in my community as I do now, because they've gone to someone who just filled out the papers but didn't understand the legal capacity and the legal consequences for you and your cases and your loved ones, and the separation and possibly deportation. So again, I get calls every day, hundreds of calls for people asking for help. There are many attorneys in the community that you can reach out to be able to help you and give the advice that's needed. And so again, it's very important to keep in mind whether you're a newcomer or you're a citizen or you're a green card holder, that you know your rights. We will continue, AACO will continue, and other organizations will continue to have these presentations for our community so that they understand and they know what their protection and what their rights are. I know I have spoken a lot. What I want to do is, for the next 30 minutes or so, leave the floor open here for our audience and also for those live streamed questions I can ask. Now, please keep in mind, I cannot answer specific case questions for privacy. But if someone has general questions, I can go ahead and answer those questions. And I wanted to bring back our board ED, Omar up here, and see if there are questions coming in, and we can go from there.
Sure. Thank you, Spojmie, for the very informative presentation and helping us to understand of what we need to be prepared for. There was a question online. Someone was asking and was sharing a little bit about how they have a hearing that keeps getting postponed by their judge, and they say for no reason. They are a parolee, and my attorney has filed for asylum. So it seems like they just keep getting delayed, and they're just confused why this is happening and what's going on.
What language do you want me to answer? I can do
The question came in English, so yeah.
The question is that my case is in immigration court and it keeps getting delayed. What I wanted to say and make a very important distinction, for those Afghans who were paroled in, the Biden administration gave up expedited processing, so some Afghans got their asylum in like 2 months or 6 months. Some of them are still pending. Every case varies, and it depends on the specifics of each case and security background checks. The distinction I want to make is for those Afghans who were coming in through the Mexican border and they were seeking asylum, their cases are not expedited. There are hundreds and thousands of asylum cases pending. And for this particular question, it might have been that the judge was overloaded with cases and it keeps getting delayed. The good thing is you have an attorney helping you. So just unfortunately, this is the process of what we're going to see, and we're going to see more delays. If you do have asylum, obviously, after 6 months, you are able to apply for a work permit. As long as you're able to legally work and your asylum is pending, then all you can do is just wait.
We have another question that came in asking about the future of NIW skilled-based green card process under the new administration.
Let me check something. So I was looking up the national interest waiver green card. I went to see the timing. So those are based on demonstrate their work of national importance. So those are like employment-based. What we're hearing, as many of you have probably seen, is that right now Elon Musk wants more H-1Bs and the new NIWs, whereas Trump. So I think we may see an increase in those visas. We're going to have to see what's going to happen under the Trump administration. I can't for sure say. But if they do increase those visas, just expect those to take long time processing, just like everything else.
And then one more question came up. This may be the last question. And someone is just saying, they have an asylum case. They've been pending for an interview since 2021. And I think the question is just like, when should they expect to hear back? So I think you've addressed this a little bit earlier, but just folks not sure about, their timeline.
Well, again, it depends on if you have an attorney. So, having an attorney helping you with the asylum cases is going to make a tremendous difference. I don't know who filed your asylum case. I don't know if it was affirmative asylum case or defensive in immigration court. One of the things you can do is you can reach out to your local congressman or local senator. In-house, they have immigration staff that can kind of do an inquiry for you. So I don't have much information on the specifics of this, but if you have an attorney, speak with your attorney. If you don't have an attorney, reach out to the local congressman or senator in your local district and see if they can do an inquiry with the asylum office and give you some guidance about, they can get information and get you updates.
I think we'll end with just, is there one or two points that you want everyone to take away from your presentation today that is just really critical for those of us in our community, with this new administration? Like, what are those, those few things that you want everyone to just remember moving forward?
Thank you. And I'm not sure if the audience has any questions. We'll go there, okay. So, Omar, John asked me what are the 3 points to take away. I know I talked a lot in Pashto and Dari, and I'm sorry if I went a little fast. I was trying to cover everything, so I hope that everybody got it, the information that I was trying to give out to the community. The 3 most important points that I would point out of the conversation for the last hour that we've had is, number 1, whatever your status is, whether you came in as a parolee, humanitarian parole on the HP, TPS, and you have not filed for a permanent way to get status, it's very, very critical that you either continue the process that you have and do that, or file for asylum, or whichever way through a family member. Do not just leave your status hanging, because that's going to have an effect on you long term. Number 2, it's very, very important that you do not come in contact with law enforcement. Whether, I'm seeing in the community, in all communities, not just Afghan communities, domestic violence, child abuse, theft, DUIs, any kind of a criminal record has always had, tremendous impact on your legal status, but more so under this administration. If you have those sort of criminal records, it's very important to speak with a criminal immigration attorney. But even a criminal immigration attorney can only do so much to try to prevent that. So first is avoid coming into contact with law enforcement by committing crimes. And then also hiring a criminal attorney and an immigration attorney. Not only would it affect you getting your status, but certain crimes may actually make you deportable. So it's very important to avoid those issues in our community and in the immigrant community. The third point I would say is very important is whether you're traveling as an asylee with again, do not travel to your home country, but anywhere else you're traveling, or you're traveling as a green card holder or a citizen. Make sure a trusted family member has copies of all your documents, and that you memorize a phone number in case CBP takes your phone. You have that one person you can call who can then contact a lawyer for you. So those are the 3 points I would say. The last thing I would say is, if you are experiencing any type of ill treatment, whether you're a green card holder, citizen, asylee, please report it to your local CARE chapter. I am a CARE National Board member, and we have local chapters. We have the San Francisco chapter. We have a wonderful ED, Zara Bilu, and her staff, who are there to help. So just report your experiences. The last thing, and I promise to leave it here, so in case we have more questions, is if an FBI or a police agent comes to your home, please know that you have a right to not open the door, and do not invite them into your home. Do not invite them for tea and cookies and chit-chat with them. They're looking for something. and you're vulnerable. So just make sure you do not open your door. You can ask them politely, please put your name and your card under my door. I will contact my lawyer and I will be back in touch with you. And then immediately after that, contact your local care chapter. We have, alhamdulillah, 4 in California. We have them all across the country. I am a CARE National Board member. I can be found easily. Someone can contact me. I can connect them or call the local chapter to report that. And then there's no charge. If it's a sufficient case, CARE will represent you. And so we're living in this time of a lot of uncertainty. Again, this information was to empower our community, not fear our community, because without education, we cannot defend ourselves. So I hope, along with our AACO and our partners 5 Pillars and the NCC, you found this to be informative, and we're still here live. If there are any more questions coming in, we also have our audiences here if they have any questions that I can answer in Pashto, Dari, or English.
Thank you so much, Spojmie Jan, and for everyone who's joining us on the live stream. We thank you all for joining today. Thank you to our partners, 5 Pillars and MCC East Bay, for their gracious co-hosting and bringing us here and providing school supplies and materials for families who have been able to join us today. So we'll go ahead and wrap up the live stream at this time, and then we're going to take some questions from those that are here in the audience. So thank you for those of you that have joined us today on the live stream.